my God, Jason's turned into a tennis android.
Hello.
Bug droid.
How's it going? The whole show, I'm going to be the bug droid.
Can you,
It's not gonna
Jason?
get annoying
Can the
at
bug
all.
droid talk into his microphone?
No, it's all the way back there behind it. Me.
Howdy ho.
Howdy ho.
That wouldn't get annoying at all.
I think we should do one of those things where you know, the Snapchat face filter.
Oh, yeah.
AI, like the Animoji versions of ourselves. We should do a whole show like that sometime.
Oh God,
boy.
please no.
Like we're VTubers.
There's a VR website that when they do their podcasts, they're all like using avatars in like a VR space, which like I admire the commitment to the bit. But
Yeah, that's a.
I will say I was on. It was must have been. It wasn't a year ago. It was less than a year ago. It was after the Vision Pro came out. I was on a call with some VCs, and one of them was on the Zoom call as his Vision Pro Apple avatar, like we, you know, and it was, and like he got roasted by everyone on the call. Yeah, like even his other partners at his VC were like, "Dude, take that off." He's like, "What? I'm trying it." It's like, it's just like
you're failing it. Actually.
It was so disturbing. It was. It's like so hard to be pitching a venture capitalist while they're like not real. You know?
Yeah. What? They're ahead of their time, man. You just don't understand. 10 years from now, we'll all be there.
Disrupting.
Vision Pro worked out super well.
Vision.
Well, hey, I mean, how happy is Apple that the Humane pin exists or existed?
Existed.
It stole the thunder of the biggest flop of last year.
That's true.
I mean, considering the Apple Intelligence delay, Siri delay, I don't think they got off easy.
They didn't.
Well, that's still going though. I mean, is that today?
Yeah.
I mean, that's this year's flop, right? Is that?
That's true.
I don't know if that's last year's flop, right?
Well, it was last year's flop in
carries
that
over.
they announced it last year and were supposed to bring it last year, and then oops, we're not going to bring it last year.
It's last year's problem because they made the dumb mistake of doing what they did last year.
Right.
Knowing that they had nothing, you know, to show.
I have a question, Michelle, maybe you can answer. My Pixel phone keeps pushing me the temperature from a town that's maybe a half an hour east of me.
And it's on automatic.
Why is that?
Welcome to Android tech support.
The Pixel weather app, like maybe you gave it approximate location access, or you manually set the location to that location.
I'll check.
To that whatever that place is.
I definitely did not manually do it.
Maybe like just go in the app and search for your
Location.
actual town, and then add that as like a favorite.
I did. The thing is that it keeps coming up. It's like it's not an actual town. Like on Long Island, there's all these little like hamlets and sections that I've never heard of after living here for my whole life. And the other day it came up, and I was like, "Where is that?" And I had to look on Google Maps to see where it was giving me that from. You know, because sometimes like when I travel, when I land, I'm still like when I went to Detroit a couple of weeks ago. I landed, and then half an hour later, I was still getting Detroit weather because it thought I was still in Detroit. But this, I've not been to where it's telling me it's 30 minutes east of me, and it's happened for like 3 days in a row now.
Have you tried wiping the phone?
I'm gonna do that. This is my. What was I missing? What was Dave Burke trying to fix for me?
Oh, it was
Circle to search.
Circle to search.
Circle to search. This isn't circle to search all over again. So. It has.
We need Dave Burke. Too bad he has nothing to do with Android anymore.
I know. I should. Maybe he could help me. I have location is a location allowed all the time. Use precise location turned on. So.
Do you have, for the love of God, please update the location turned on? I think that's a new switch.
That's also called the power switch. You turn it off.
Right.
I'm gonna reboot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a cold reboot. So.
You know, that should be an extra button attached to like every setting in your settings panel. It's like there should always be a reboot button just right next to it. Like, did that work? No.
Right.
Push this button.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, did that work? No, it didn't work.
Push this button. See you in 5 minutes.
Yep. All right. Can we do a show? Should we do it?
Yeah. Well,
Let's do a show.
we've got plenty of stuff here. If we don't start,
I kind of
now,
thought
we'll
we
be
already
here all
were,
night.
but all right. I mean,
Oh my God! Some Mo in the chat says it's where the body is buried.
Oh God.
No, don't.
What precipitated that comment?
The location. Like
Your Honor, I submit.
that was very funny. This live stream just became evidence.
Mr. Richards
Evidence.
claims he has never been to this location, but his phone clearly indicates that he was standing over the body when it was discovered.
Yeah.
Your Honor, I'd like to
Objection.
show you.
All right. We got a packed show again, so let's
overrule.
All right.
let's do it.
Just slow your roll there, Ron.
Sorry.
Buzzkill.
Thanks for joining us this week, Adam. Always good to see you.
Oh yeah, it's good stuff. Good times.
Good to see you virtually after seeing you in person.
I know. I smell so much better now.
I was gonna say I prefer virtual a lot more than in person.
Fair. I mean, a little rude, but okay.
Just
go-
kidding.
I'll go with it.
It was a fun trip.
It was.
It was. I totally agree.
Was it Adam? Have you been to MWC before?
I had not. That was my
Oh,
first
so
one.
you're both
That's
MWC
surprising to me.
virgins. Wow.
Yeah.
Actually,
Michelle,
me
you-
too.
Yeah.
you too? I thought you had
Michelle
been
either.
before, Michelle.
No,
I thought, no,
first time.
Which one
Yeah,
did you
that's
go
wild.
to?
That was my first one.
That was his first.
Oh,
I was supposed to be at 2020, but you know what happened then.
yeah.
Right.
By the way, I
So
hate
yeah,
this.
I was.
By the way, I hate this week because this is the week that Google Photos reminds me that the pandemic started 5 years ago.
Oh.
Because I keep getting all
Oh,
of them.
Yeah, it's a
Wow,
good point.
5 years.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's been 5 years. It's been a half a decade. But yeah, I remember I was supposed to go last year to MWC, but I got COVID like 3 days before I flew. I was supposed to fly out,
Ironically.
so I was so mad. But yeah, it was a good show. I was really only on the show floor for like a day and a half, just because of the way the honor schedule worked out. But
Mm-hmm.
it was good. Had some time to look around Barcelona.
But by the way, has Win spoken yet? Is there mic?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Just making sure you're not accidentally
A
muted.
little low. Let me boost ya.
I can
Let me-
also.
Let's see here. Say some words.
Why do you have like a Sean Connery thing going on here?
Say some words.
Me?
Yes.
No.
Okay, that's
yes, you-
much louder.
Too hot.
Yeah. Here, I'm adjusting in StreamYard. I'm adjusting in StreamYard.
She sells seashells down by the seashore. She sells seashells down by the seashore.
Seashells by the seashore.
Sean Connery likes seashells. Scottish seashells by the seashore.
Fetch me my scuba gear.
I always thought that Sean Connery should have done like an intro, like prologue to Master and Commander, just so we could hear him say, Master and Commander. I think that would have been great. That would have made the whole movie. Like the rest of the movie was not good, but like on a ship,
I don't know.
Captain
if I've
isn't
ever
just a
seen
captain.
That movie. That
he's
film.
Master
Okay.
and Commander.
All right, we should do this.
Can we all do the
No.
show? Can we all do the show like Sean Connery?
Ron,
I ask
Richards will be doing the intro.
I can't do a Sean Connery impression now.
No, I
All
can't.
you
That's
do
only
is-
because you haven't tried.
Sean Connery on Trebek.
Jump back. All right, I got to remove Adam Doud from the stage. Done.
Not because he did
remove-
Sean Connery, because we're
Yeah,
going to do the
that's
show.
it. Out. In fact, I'm just going to kick him from the room. I'm not. I'm just kidding. Going to remove Win. Going to remove Michelle. Going to turn off my camera, but I can still talk,
I can hear you.
which means I can totally mess you up while you're going.
You sure can. Wouldn't be the first time.
Then let's see here. Okay, I just lost what I was doing. Okay, there we go. Now I know what I'm doing. Okay, everybody stand by. Stand by. Here we go.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Android Faithful. We're your weekly source of news, hardware, apps, gossip, chit-chat, fun times in the world of Android. As always, I'm Ron Richards.
I'm Jason Howell. Oh, this button.
I'm into it now.
And this button.
And I'm Mashal Rahman.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to another week of packed Androidness. Last week was a marathon. This week is going to be another marathon. I hope you're all buckled in and ready for it.
It's the Android clown car of news. It just keeps coming and coming and coming. And
Well, that's pretty good because we got room for another in this clown car of Android faithful. Our good friend Adam Doud, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, and I'm glad you rolled out the clown card just for me.
I was gonna say, Adam, Ron just called you a clown. Like,
No,
on
we're all
air.
clowns.
did.
We're collectively clowns.
We are Android clowns. It's what we do here.
You
So-
mentioning the car just reminded me that I have yet to unbox the model SU7 that Xiaomi gave me at the MWC.
Oh,
is this-
nice.
Oh,
Yeah, they gave you like
a
this
little-
really awesome,
Oh, wait, they gave you a toy
really
car, like,
intricate
not,
a toy car.
not the
And
car
it's like
itself.
modeled. Not the. I mean,
I was
I wish they
thinking the
did.
whole
But
It'd be great if you had a car on your driveway that was still in a box.
Wrapped up.
I'm gonna
Take your camera.
definitely
out.
gonna show that on Android Faithful sometime. It's huge
Michelle's like,
though.
I just don't
It's
really
big.
care about cars, so I've just left it there.
Does it have Android Auto?
Unfortunate. I mean, I think it does run Android Hyper OS in China,
Hyper
which
OS
is Android
Auto?
based.
certain type of
Yeah.
Android, let's say.
Well, anyway, Adam, welcome back. What you been up to, my friend, since you were last on?
Oh, all the things I've gotten. I've gotten fired from a couple of places. I've started up at a couple of places. It's
Dang.
freelance
Exciting.
life is great.
Life.
I mean, not really fired. It's actually kind of Google's fault. Speaking of Android faithful, but we'll leave that story to like offline because I shouldn't say things about it.
How was Mobile World Congress? Your first time, right?
It was fun. It was good. I got to hang with Mr. Howell. I don't think I ever saw Michelle. It was so wild. Like I
don't think we ever came across each other.
Michelle's
like,
so
ran
busy
into
at these
everybody.
events. Like I've now been to a couple of events, and like if I see you, Michelle, it's like we have like one passing moment, and then
Yep.
like I never see you again. It's like I think he's here, but I just don't know where.
She's
Ships in the
elusive.
night.
Elusive. That backpack.
Elusive.
You got to follow the backpack.
Yeah,
Barcelona's a big
Yeah.
city, man. I don't know what to
yeah,
tell
that's
you.
true.
it really
The
is.
The
It
funny
really
thing is that Michelle was just hanging out in Barcelona. He was partying. You weren't even at the event. It was,
Yeah. Fira, whatever. Come on, man. We got tapas to eat, or whatever those are. What's the raw bacon called
Come
again?
on.
I don't
Come
remember.
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Barcelona actually cooks food. I'm not positive, but I don't think I come across much of it.
So Adam, as someone who's attended many CESs and other events like that, how did MWC compare for you? Better, worse, worth the trip, not worth the trip?
You know, trade shows are kind of like freelancing with different outlets. They're all great in their own way, and they all have their own baggage.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
it's like MWC is much more compact than CES or even IFA. Like I like IFA because it's all like in the one venue pretty much. It's a
Right.
freaking huge venue, but it's still just the one venue. Like CES is like, I swear to God, like companies just throw darts at a map to see where they're going to get hotel suites. Whereas like MWC is all very confined. It's like what, 8 halls, I think, like eight or
Yeah.
9 halls. Like the most you can walk is like 20 minutes from one hall to like from hall 1 all the way to hall 8.
Oh, that's nice. Actually.
Not counting the amount of time it takes to walk through the hall, like
Right.
through the halls, but the
There is a
connective
thing that I
tissue
have
between
noticed.
them takes that long.
There is a thing I've noticed at MWC and IFA, and I don't know if it's a European thing. I've heard that it's a European thing, but people will just stop and talk in the middle of the hallway. And it's like, folks, if you're in a group and one of you doesn't have your back against the wall, you are doing it wrong. Because like you're trying to like hustle to your next meeting, and like suddenly there's like a gaggle of people in front of you, like just all chit-chatting and talking, having a good time. But
Walking
you're like,
away.
I got places to go, people. So I mean, like I said, I don't know if it's a European thing or if it's, but I noticed it at IFA and MWC and not so much at CES. So
Yeah.
that's, but I mean, from a mobile perspective, MWC is cherry. There's like
Yeah,
so
agreed.
much going on there, like especially from a mobile perspective. Like there was so much going on there, like I couldn't even keep up. But yeah, overall, very good show. Probably, I don't know, of the 3, they all have good pluses and minuses. I don't think I have a favorite
All right.
yet.
Fair enough. But of the 4 of us, I'm your favorite, right?
A mother never tells.
So with
Well
that,
done.
we got a pack show. So why don't we dive into the news? Jason, I thought 2025 would have less RCS discussions, but I was wrong.
Well, maybe this is one of the last of the major RCS discussions, because when Apple relented, whatever word you want to put in there, to supporting RCS, one major caveat was that it didn't support encrypted RCS between Android devices and iOS devices. And sure enough, the pigs that were flying when the first announcement happened, their relatives are now flying, and they're in the sky to signal the arrival, or the upcoming arrival anyways, of Apple's support for encrypted RCS between its devices and Android devices. It's basically following the GSM Association's announcement on Friday of new specifications for RCS Universal Profile 3.0. That includes end-to-end encryption, plus a few other features. But Apple going to support encryption, and I think that's one of those, like, the kind of one of the last big differences or things that was lacking here. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure real iMessage fans and users would be like, oh yeah, well, we still got this and whatever. But as far as like the real critical features between platforms, I think that's a biggie. So I'm happy about it. What do you all think?
So what happened?
What do you mean?
Well,
Like, why?
why did it take
are they
until now?
supporting-
Yeah.
I mean,
like-
because they
spec.
just added support for encryption
Yeah.
in the specification.
right.
So like the GSMA's RCS spec didn't have any end-to-end encryption support that was specified in it, but they just added that, and it's based on MLS. I think is message layer security is the encryption spec, and that's what they're going to be using and implementing across Android and iOS.
And also just to make you mad, Ron. That's why.
Sure,
That's
just to
the
give
other
something.
reason.
Apple's
It's
like
Apple
just wanted to
enough
make
people
you
haven't
upset.
talked about this, right?
Well, so they
Right.
do it on their own time. They'll do it when we've given up hope. That's when they jam it in, and then then we have to
Yeah.
congratulate them.
And they don't make a big deal about it. They just kind of move along. They're like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
whatever.
by the way, we did that thing anyways. Blah, blah, blah. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, I've talked to a reasonable amount of like iOS users who may not have really understood the whole RCS thing, but have definitely noticed the quality of life improvement of the fact that their messaging with Android users is now better. And so say what you will, if you're an iOS user and I mean, say what you will, but this isn't just an Android yay thing. This is all, both sides yay, in my opinion.
Good news, but from what I hear, people are still complaining about the fact that RCS is only available on a handful of US carriers, basically. So like if you're an iPhone user, you got to rely on your carrier. If you're like in Europe, most carriers there, I think, haven't implemented RCS yet. Some carriers in the US, I think like Google Fi is still a big one.
Oh,
That doesn't
Google Fi,
implement
yeah,
RCS
but, like,
support?
what the hell is
Yeah,
that?
it's
What is
kind of
that?
ridiculous.
Like, what? Why? Still Google.
Oh,
Left hand, right hand. Once again, there it is.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
I just
I will say
Oh.
I still see the RCS chat flag with an iPhone user, and then it go back to SMS and go back to RCS. I still that
Oh, like
happening all the time.
Toggles or something.
Yeah.
So I'm a Google Fi user, and I'm looking at a friend who definitely has an iPhone, and I do see RCS message in the text box, and I do get read receipts. Am I weird?
Isn't it? Oh, no, sorry. It's not Google. I wasn't thinking Google Fi. I was thinking Google Voice.
Ah,
Voice.
Google-
oh,
okay.
Yes.
Google
Well,
Fi.
Google
somebody
Voice
has
is like is Google Voice the most forgotten about application at Google there is?
A lot of it. Like what is it again? Sorry, remind us. What was Google Voice again?
What is
That
Google
was
Voice?
kind of a
Well, I
choice.
mean, it's
It's
That
just
was kind
their
of a
VoIP
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's-
online
Yeah.
chat service.
I've got like
Yeah.
5 phone numbers that I can use in Google Voice, and I can make calls and text from it. But there's no RCS, has no it doesn't even have like material design, like the latest updates to the design look. It looks from like 8 years ago. So
Oh, and quick correction, Google Fi, they finally just did add support for RCS with iPhones.
there you
And
go.
actually, apparently, it's
Fi has
Apple
it,
that had
okay.
to allow it with the latest iOS 18.4 beta.
yeah.
So there it is. So
Well,
all right,
there you go.
Well, there you go. Well, speaking of Google, we're going to apologize to everybody watching on the live stream and listening to the show this week because Google did us dirty by dropping like, I wouldn't want to say bombshell, but just by dropping like basket after basket after basket of news starting last week on Thursday, continuing until today, where there was just a cavalcade of news. We're gonna try to go through it all when we can, and understanding that a lot of it happens to be sometimes the calendar bites you in the butt. Right. And so like Google has no control over when GDC is happening, the games developer conference in San Francisco. Obviously Android 16 is on this aggressive path forward and they've got to hit certain dates. Clearly Gemini is important. So you're going to hear a lot about that, but just all of this stuff happened at once and it's a lot. So we're going to try to get through it also. So let's go on this journey together. Adam, I hope you're comfortable.
Marginally, but okay.
All right, first and foremost, at the aforementioned Game Developers Conference in San Francisco this year at GDC, Google had a bunch of announcements to announce in terms around Google Play and specifically updates for developers developing games and what that means for them in working with Google Play and Android and things like that. So the big bullet points you want to take away from this is that Google Play continues to make nice between mobile and PCs. We saw Jason and Michelle, we were at that Google Play event last year where that was they were starting to seed this. They're starting to say PC gaming, mobile gaming, you can do it all on Google Play. That's continuing even more so. They're currently welcoming total PC titles onto Google Play now. So whether you're a fan of Game of Thrones King's Road or Sonic Rumble or Odin Valhalla Rising or other stuff like that, you can now play those in the Google Play ecosystem, which it continues to. And then they're also connecting PC games to mobile as well. So Dredge and Tabs Mobile and stuff like that are going to be on Google Play as well. And they're being optimized for touch controls and basically all the stuff that goes with mobile gaming. So a lot more games coming into Google Play coming from the PC gaming world. Additionally, they added they're adding a playability badge to Google Play, which is going to help you let you know about the minimum requirements for a game to function on a PC. So if you're on a PC and you're using Google Play and you see a game, you want to understand whether it's optimized to be on a PC or not, or so it's a little added information to help you make that decision before you install a game, which is nice. They're continuing to throw some nitro into the whole Google Play Points world. So basically, they're if you're using Google Play Points, games on PCs get 10x the normal points. So
I'd encourage you to do it.
Yeah, tell me about it. Just I want to help you get across that so you can amass those Google Play Points and redeem them for coupons in games or Google Play Store credits. Honestly, I don't think I've paid for a movie rental on Google Play in years because I use the points for it. So it's actually not that bad. And then as far as how it handling the interfaces and specifically working with Android, they've added custom controls to Android so that there's a new sidebar that you can pull up and make adjustments to the controls in a game without leaving the game, which is super handy. You can map keys, you can make adjustments within the game, and it's pretty flexible in that way on PCs, which is great. So very cool. They got a lot more stuff, but I'm going to throw it to Michelle for the rest of it in terms of what it means for developers.
Well, actually, hold on, Ron. There was one thing that I think is worth mentioning on why they're adding the playability badges. It's because they're opening up Google Play games on PC to all mobile games. So like before, you only had a select few games that developers specifically had to allow to be emulated. So but now any game that you have on your phone, on your Android phone, will show up on PC as playable. And whether or not it has a badge determines, whether or not it's actually been optimized for PCs or not. So that's a pretty big difference. Google is basically creating a competitor to Steam Epic Games, considering they're having their own PC native games on Google Play games. There's also all these handheld games.
Think about the number of users that it opens up to. Mobile, if you're a mobile game developer, potentially that whole universe of PC gamers out there is now yours to possibly tap into. So
So yeah, that's a big change for the Google Play Games platform. And the other big change that Google announced at GDC is to the Android platform. Google announced that they are making the Vulkan graphics API the official graphics API for Android. Now, if you don't know, Vulkan is a modern, low-overhead, cross-platform 3D graphics and compute API that gives developers more direct control over the device's GPU than older APIs like OpenGL. This allows for greater control and also improved performance by reducing overhead. And it also opens up new capabilities in modern smartphone GPUs like ray tracing. And games like Diablo Immortal and Pokemon TCG Pocket are already taking advantage of that for these neat shimmery effects and, optimized battery life on phones. So Android's technically already supported Vulkan since Android 7 in 2016, but the reason they couldn't make this announcement back then was just due to fragmentation. There just weren't enough phones back then that had Vulkan support to make that happen. But fast forward to today, and there's now over 85% of Android phones supporting Vulkan. So what does it actually mean for Vulkan to become the official graphics API? Well, it means that every app, every game, every system service, everything that wants to talk to the device's GPU is going to do so through Vulkan, whether it's directly through the Vulkan APIs or indirectly through some game engine or something else. So developers can still build games using the older OpenGL APIs if they want to support legacy devices, and those games will still run on more modern hardware that don't have those OpenGL drivers, thanks to a feature called Angle, which is basically a translation layer that translates OpenGL to Vulkan. So there's a lot more details in the Android Authority article that Ron is scrolling through that talks about how Google is tackling the issue of Vulkan feature fragmentation, what new Vulkan features will be required in Android 16 and Android 17, and what this means for mobile GPUs going forward if you're interested. But the one thing I kind of wanted to highlight a bit is, why is this important for Google to tackle this fragmentation and make Vulkan support, more the baseline level for all devices? Well, if you're a mobile gamer or you tried dabbled in mobile gaming before, you may have noticed that a lot of mobile games just don't look very good compared to their console or PC counterparts. And the reason is not because your flagship $1,500 phone is not capable of pushing high fidelity AAA style graphics, right? You have proof in the iPhone side of things. You have the Resident Evil 4 remake, Resident Evil 8 Village, those are AAA games, and that runs on iPhone hardware. Your phone is capable of playing those kinds of games. The problem is, at least on Android, is that when you're a game developer, you got to target the lowest common denominator. And lowest common denominator does not support any advanced graphical features. So that's why a lot of games just end up not looking very good, because they're not capable of running on the average device. But by raising the baseline of supported graphical features, bumping out older GPUs from the market, eventually we're going to get higher fidelity games just as the norm, as we're seeing with Diablo Immortal and Pokemon TCG Pocket.
Nice. Good all around. Thank you for explaining that, because I saw the news last week and I was like, okay, I know that there's more to this, but I didn't really understand quite to the way that you've explained it. So thank you for that.
I think
really
it's
helpful.
fascinating that it took 10 years for Vulkan to come into its own in this regard. And this is and this is also something that is completely under the hood, and not, users should get the benefit of it, but how many people know what the API is that's running graphics on below the stuff, but but it's pretty important for developers, right? So yeah. Oh, cool.
Well, good for Google Play Games. So
and good for Android.
I mean, and the thing is, I've been very silent for the first 10 minutes here because I don't really care about encryption. I don't really do gaming. So
what you do, Adam?
I just wanted to remind the listeners I am in fact here. And I'm listening attentively. But yeah, I just didn't have a whole lot to say.
It's all right.
Anyway,
it's all good.
Well, maybe you'll have some opinions on what Ron's about to tell us
exactly.
about.
So one last little bit of gaming news. Probably one of the most popular games, I think, in Android history. If you guys, it's hard to deny, or if you guys don't disagree. But Pokemon Go from Niantic has been one of the look at what a mobile game can do, and it uses location and does all this amazing stuff. And it came out of Niantic, which spun out of Google, where they did Ingress, etc. Well, they announced that they sold the majority of their assets for $3.5 billion to Scopely, which is a online gaming company that is popular for Monopoly Go and Star Trek Fleet Command and stuff like that. And Scopely is actually is a subsidiary of a parent company named the Savvy Games Group, which is Saudi Arabian. And so basically all those millions of Pokemon Go users and their locations where they go to, stuff like that, is now owned by a company that is based in Saudi Arabia. Whether you care about that or not, that's what's happened. Now that said, our data is in 1,000,001 different places, and if you're afraid of a Saudi Arabian company knowing that you walk to your local park to go chase a Charmander, that's up to you. But still, it's got some people somewhat upset about it. For me, I thought this was more interesting because just of how important Pokemon Go has been to the Android ecosystem and the work that Niantic has done. And the fact that Niantic now is not going away. What wasn't included in the deal, the bits and pieces Niantic that were left are going to be spun off into a new company called Niantic Spatial, which is described as a geospatial AI company. And it's led by the Niantic founder, John Hank. And they will continue to own Ingress Prime and Peridot. So there's still some legacy with Ingress and Niantic. But this is in the video game world, this is a huge, dollar.
Yeah, it doesn't get much bigger
bigger
than Pokemon Go as far as gaming on mobile, right? I have to imagine.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot that Pokemon Go was a thing. But I flirted with it like everybody else did, like end of 20, actually, like
when did it
was
launch?
that?
Was that 2016,
2017?
It was a long time ago. I was gonna say like during the pandemic, but that was absolutely not correct at all. I was
2016.
Like
2016. So July,
like 2017. I was I remember distinctly the first time I heard about Pokemon Go. My family and I were coming back from, this was 2016. It would have been from Toronto. We were on vacation and we had stopped at like a rest stop. And I'm a geocacher, which I think I've mentioned on the show a couple of times before. So it's not uncommon at a rest stop for me to walk around staring at my palm because I'm looking at where the nearest geocache is. So I saw a whole group of people walking around looking at their palms. And so I just kind of assumed, they must be geocachers. So I went over and said hi. And I'm like, is there a geocacher on there? They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
what is a geocache?
There's a Bulbasaur.
Yeah, we're looking for like a whatever, I'm just like, I heard about that. Okay, cool. And like, we
got to go. There's a Jigglypuff over there.
Right. But one of the fun things is the forest served by my house was a nest for something. And like I have never seen a forest preserve more crowded with people. We had people parking in front of our house to walk to the forest preserve, which is like 3 blocks away, because there was no other parking like anywhere in our neighborhood. There were so many people there, all chasing like Bulbasaurs or whatever. But
it was a thing. I'm just looking up right now, and from the data from Apptopia, 60 million people were playing the game a year after it launched. In early 2018.
What about last year? I knew it was mega popular, 2016, 2015, 2017. Yeah. But I know it's still popular. I just didn't know how popular it still was for them to be able to sell it off for that much.
For that much, that's a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get some actual data as to what it. So according to ActivePlayer.io. In the last 30 days, it has averaged 118 million players.
That's crazy.
More, isn't it?
Doing all right.
Yeah, it's more. since 2018. yeah. So but
I think it's probably one of those things where it's like it was really novel when it first came out, and so like everybody was like, "Oh, look, those people are like playing Pokemon Go." And I think now we're just kind of like used to people walking around staring at their hands and like running out into traffic to try to catch a Pikachu and stuff. So we're like, just Pokemon Go people.
So the interesting thing though is that I feel like Pokemon Go potentially could have been a great, or could still be if Scopely puts the whatchamacallit, the resources into it. But with the emergence of the AR glasses, you know, like it
Oh my
could
goodness,
take
could
it
you
to
imagine?
another
That could be a
level
whole
that we haven't
new
seen
thing.
yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll see. It's funny because I wasn't surprised to see the sale happen because I knowing people I know in the video game industry, I know Niantic was working on a very, very big IP game that then they canceled abruptly about a year ago. And then also a former coworker of mine was head of marketing there, and I saw he started a new job like 3 months ago, and I was like, oh, something's going on at Niantic, right? And then I saw this happen, and I was like, oh, okay. so there it is.
I got it.
So, all right. So big games news. But that wasn't all that Google announced because the same day that the GDC news came out, our friends over at Google within the Android group announced that the Android 16 Beta 3 was out. And I feel like we need a sound effect for this, Jason. We have achieved platform stability with Android 16, which I would just like everyone to applaud me for our coverage of it on AndroidFaithful.com because I needed to make a graphic for the header of the post, and so I put the Android 16 logo on a picture of oil platforms.
That's amazing.
I figured platform stability, get it? Right?
Yeah.
I see what you did there, Ron.
See what I did? Very cool.
Very clever.
So they shared with us the aggressive timeline that Android 16 has been on. You know, we were in developer previews in November and December of 24. We had beta releases pretty much one a month, January, February, and now here in March. And we hit platform stability in March. And then it's going to go through April. And then final release at the end of the timeline they show, presumably is May, right around for Google I/O.
June,
right?
somewhere around there. Yeah.
June.
Yep. So with that, I will hand it over to my esteemed pal Mashal to tell us what was in this beta. So
What's in the beta?
There's a lot in this beta. At least there's a lot of stuff. Not a lot of stuff that's available for users, but a lot of stuff that's hinted at for future releases. The first thing, of course, everyone loves Easter eggs. You know, it's one of the first things you check out when you upgrade your phone to the new Android version. And in Android 16 Beta 3, the new Easter egg is kind of there, except it's not fully there in full because
kind of like my sanity. It's there, but not really there.
So yeah,
Right.
The Easter egg in Android 16 is the same basic spaceship game from Android 14 and Android 15. You pilot this ship around space. You land on planets and suns, things like that, and you also plant flags when you go there. But what Google has added in Android 16 is a notification that tells you the progress of your trip to the nearest star. Whenever you enable autopilot mode, the ship will automatically navigate to the nearest star, and you have this new notification that tells you the progress, the distance, and the ETA. This is supposed to be a showcase. This is supposed to be a showcase for the Android 16 live updates feature, but live updates itself is disabled in Beta 3. But I managed to enable it anyways, so I can show you the full Android 16 Easter egg experience. There's a video below. You can go ahead and mute it so you don't have to hear me talking about it. But basically, the live updates feature, the Easter egg, will show this little chip in the status bar that tells you the status of the ship, whether or not it's adrift, whether or not it is navigating to the nearest star, whether or not it's landed, or whether it's moving. And then this notification is pinned to the top of the notification panel above all other notifications like your emails, your messages, or things like that. So it's always visible. You don't have to scroll through your whole notifications panel. And then the coolest part is that when you lock the phone and go to the AOD, the notification is shown in full on the AOD instead of as like a little icon like all other notifications.
I mean, because it's really important. This particular notification is very, very important. So,
yeah.
Good.
This is just a demo, basically, of the live updates feature. You know, obviously, more important actual apps like ride-sharing apps will use it for showing off important information. But this is just an Easter egg, and Google wanted a cool, fun way to show off the live updates feature. So that's the first thing. The other next big change, something people have been looking forward to for a long time, is a battery health feature. In Android 16 Beta 3, if you have certain pixels, I believe the Pixel 8a and the 9 series, if you go to settings, then battery, there's a new battery health page where you can see the estimated remaining battery capacity as a percent. So like maybe 95% of the original battery capacity is left, or 100%. This is just an estimate of how much battery is remaining on your device. And people really like to find out how much battery is remaining on their device, because it depends on how often you plug in, unplug your phone, how often you use wireless charging, how many times you fully discharge and fully charge it. All sorts of things will factor into that remaining percent. And if you would like tips on extending your battery life, this page also has some helpful links to articles that you can read on Google support page about how to extend your battery life. The next change, this one is not present in beta 3, but it's hinted at in a future release, is Google is preparing to work on a notification summary feature, just like iOS. So yeah, I'm sure if you've heard of Apple Intelligence and how it's failed many times at accurately summarizing notifications, you're probably dreading this. But on the bright side, Google is implementing some kind of they're implementing a restriction so that it won't apply to all notifications, only conversation notifications. So like messages from your friends or your family members or strangers on messaging apps. Those will be the only messages that it will summarize. But again, this feature is not live in beta 3.
Agree to disagree on your judgment of Apple Intelligent notification summaries. They're pretty good. Sometimes they're hilariously wrong, but for the most part, they're pretty good. I enjoyed that feature, and I'm actually looking forward to getting that on Android phones. So,
is it useful or just interesting? Does it actually improve your notification experience, or is it just like interesting?
No, I think it actually is useful, because when you have when you're part of a larger group chat and there's just people chatting back and forth, you can just kind of get a quick summary as to what's going on. Of course, the more chats that are going back and forth, the more chances there are to mess things up to hilarious results. So, but for the most part, I would say that they are. I mean, are they life-changingly useful? No, but I like them.
What AI features are.
Right. But no, I'm very much looking forward to a thing like that on Android, as well as the live updates on the lock screen. That is part of the reason why I like carrying an iPhone everywhere, is because of that the lock screen and the live updates.
So another useful feature that'll hopefully be coming in a future release is desktop view, which sounds like it's going to be Google's version of Samsung DeX. Google, as we noticed in the December Pixel drop, they added desktop windowing, but only on tablet screens. Now, this new desktop view feature seems like it's going to be bringing that to external displays, so that when you plug your phone into an external display, you'll have a desktop mode experience on that display. This feature, again, is not enabled in beta 3, but there's a hint of a new developer option that will let you test it in a future release.
Someday. It'll finally happen.
Oh, I'm
all right, and on to the UI changes, the thing that everyone is really looking forward to. The first one is a big redesign of the settings app. So Google is looking to implement a expressive settings design where they add Material Design 3 toggles with a check mark or an X logo inside of the handle. They're also implementing basically visually distinct cards for each settings item. They're also implementing carrots that tell you when an item has a submenu available. Right now, it's kind of, you just guess whether or not actually a submenu is available. And then they are also implementing, when you open a page for the first time, by default, the header is at the very top instead of scroll down a bit. So this lets you see more of the settings page when you open it for the first time. So yeah, pretty big redesign of the settings app is in the works. Again, not enabled in beta 3. Next up is a big controversial redesign of the quick settings panel. We've talked about this before, but Google's made some significant progress in beta 3. So this panel splits the notification and quick settings into two, where you have notifications on the left, quick settings on the right. And in previous releases, there wasn't a way to swipe between them. But now you can tap on the chip on the top left to open notifications and on the top right to open quick settings. And you can swipe down on the right side to switch to quick settings, and then swipe down on the left side to switch to notifications. It's a very bizarre gesture. I don't think any other OEM does it like this, but that is how Google is testing switching between the panels right now. And other changes that I noticed is that you have this big clock at the top of the notifications panel that actually syncs with your lock screen clock. The quick settings panel is now infinitely vertically scrolling instead of horizontal pages.
Oh my god, look at that. Is so
you can have as many
stacked.
tiles as you want on this new
That
quick
is
settings panel.
That's
pretty
wild.
ridiculous looking.
Yeah,
What?
and
It's kind of giving me Windows Phone vibes a little bit.
Oh, that's not a good thing.
Could be like you can like resize the different
Okay.
quick settings and whatnot. So
Yeah.
we're one step away. They've already stolen everything from WebOS. Let's start stealing stuff from Windows Phone too.
So
Wow.
I'm into it.
is the interaction? Wait, it's like a double swipe. It's like you swipe down then swipe down again.
yeah, just like on like Samsung phones or Xiaomi phones, to switch between the notifications, quick settings, you like swipe left or you swipe right.
And doesn't OnePlus have like a swipe left, swipe right, kind of like a similar thing where you swipe the left side of the screen, one thing happens, swipe the right side, a different thing happens?
Yeah, that's before you
Right.
pull down the panel. That's
Yeah,
the pull
right.
down the
Right, that's
panel
before,
initially.
yeah,
Yeah.
not when the panel's down already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
right
this is
now,
just-
the gesture to open up your notifications is to swipe down, say crap, that's the wrong side, swipe back up, and then swipe down on the other side, and then you get your notifications. And similarly with the quick settings, you swipe down, say, no, damn it, that's not what I wanted. You swipe back up, and then you go back on the other side. So that's currently the current gesture model. This is looking to improve that, and I'm here for it.
And what you're showing off in that video, if you were watching the video version, this is a feature that is not actually active. You had to do your Mishal magic and activate that in order to show its current progress, right?
Right. It's not
Okay.
available in
So I was
beta
gonna
3.
say
So
it's-
this could be an Android 16 QPR1, QPR2, or maybe Android 17 feature.
Yeah, because I was just watching some of the kind of like the transitions and animations, and like, oh god, that doesn't look very good. But I'm sure they'll polish that by the time it releases.
And very quickly, there was one more thing I just wanted to get your opinions on. Google's working on a redesigned battery icon. And if you pull up that article at the very end, I want to hear your opinions on this new battery icon. So when you're charging your phone and your phone has decent amount of battery, it turns a very bright, vivid green. When your phone is low on battery, it turns this bright red color. So it kind of reminds me of like really old school Android design.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it
Android
does.
hasn't had a colorful battery icon for a long time.
It does
Yeah.
have an old school quality to it for sure.
I like colors. I don't like those colors, but I like colors in general. Like a more muted green and a more muted red, I'd be into it. But these are just kind of like, I don't know, like weird neon color. I guess it's noticeable, but
Well, because you got to make sure it works on any. I mean, Win, you're a developer of the group, right? Like you got to make sure it can be read no matter what's behind it, right?
That and yeah, and then what about red green colorblind folks?
yeah,
Good point.
that's
Less
also a problem.
interesting to them. I mean, there's this is I'm not that excited. But yeah, and I agree. It needs to be able to be read, especially since most status bars now are transparent, as you can see in the shot. People have crazy backgrounds. We always see these things over something that is relatively neutral and relatively, uniform, like homogeneous. Imagine this stuff on top of someone's like really crazy, background, or just really graphic. It's kind of just polishing like the handle of a silver teapot to me. But yeah, that's just not interesting to me.
It's got
But
old
hey,
school
like
vibes.
if you like it, cool. If you like it, cool. It's just I agree. There's gonna be it doesn't seem like an optimization, just a thing that we're doing.
Throwback.
Throwback.
What's old is new again.
Mm. Well,
Speaking of which,
how about we stick with some new stuff? How about what's new is new, and what will be new is One UI 7, and we have an official after teasing you all about this is going to launch, and the beta is like, well, guess what? April 7th for realsies. The Samsung S24 series and S23 series will be getting the One UI 7.0 update with the S24 series and your 6 series of flips and foldables, followed immediately or very closely by the S23 series, the Z Fold and Flip 5, as well as the S10 series and the S9 series for your tabs. So that is the official launch date. But if you were looking for all the AI goodies like Writing Assist, AI Select, the new Nowbor, which is actually kind of cool. It's like real-time updates on the lock screen with simple swipe access because the lock screen is where things are at these days. Simplified home screen redesign, where there's a whole bunch of good stuff. A lot of it is AI centric, including the Google Gemini integration and things that we've already heard of in the past, like audio eraser, drawing assist, and writing assist. All right, well, there's a whole bunch of good stuff. Not everybody is going to get it, and it's not straightforward to tell you all who's going to get what. So of the series that we've mentioned, the S24 series, S23 series, the 6 series of foldables, the 5 series of foldables, and the Tab S10s and Tab S9s, everyone's going to get drawing assist and writing assist. If those are interesting things for you for summarizing your things or for using some of those cool drawing features, everybody gets those. In regards to the audio eraser, which helps to eliminate like background noise from your video from audio, the S24 series will get it. The 6 series flips and folds will get it, and the S10 series tabs will get it. So basically the latest generation of phones and tablets. Now, natural language search is pretty interesting. It's this idea of, for example, being able to search your settings, and the example that they give was like, oh, my eyes hurt, and having the natural search be able to process that and bring up, say, display settings so that you can adjust it to, kind of increase the comfort of your eyes. So if that's something interesting to you, those, again, will only be available on the newest, or rather the latest released generation, the S24s, the 6 flips and folds, and the S10 series. And there's one more pretty killer feature for those filmmakers out there. If you're really looking for log video support, if you're on the S24 series and you're a aspiring filmmaker on your Samsung Galaxy S24s, congratulations, you're going to get log video support, but no one else is going to get that. So there you go. You're going to get officially your April 7th update or rollout rather of One UI 7. And what you're going to get is widely going to depend on what phone you have. But if you're in the S24 series, you're pretty much going to get everything. So there you go.
And you won't have to wait too long, right?
No, April 7th.
You won't have to wait too much longer.
Too much longer.
Because like a lot of people have been kind of disappointed by the fact that they're finally getting One UI 7 and we're about to get Android 16 in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
people always be disappointed.
And also, like, I feel like the news on this has been like, it's happening, it's not happening. This is where, like, there have been lots of rumors over the past couple of weeks. I know we covered it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems odd rollout. But no.
I think you guys left out the most important part of One UI 7. The vertically scrolling app drawer, people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. It's so good. I hated the horizontal scrolling.
The horizontal scrolling
so
that
much.
always defaults to like some weird sort setting that
Yeah.
never makes sense
alphabetical
to me. I'd have to always go in there and alphabetize it because
and then you have to go back and re-alphabetize it after a couple of months because for some reason it's like not alphabetized anymore. And then like if you're just if you just open Zoom and then you want to open Amazon, you have to like no. Oh man,
Yeah.
I was so happy when I discovered the vertically scrolling app drawer. I'm like, I can actually use this phone now. Yay!
Yay.
Anyway, sorry.
Cool. Well,
I'm
there
fine.
we
Everything's
go.
fine.
Everything is awesome. All right. Time to take a break. I think we got to take a break. We're going to take a break before the patron pick because that's just how we roll today. And maybe it'll be, a good reason for people to sign up for the Patreon because then you won't hear the ad that's about to play right now.
Patreon.com/AndroidFaithful.
Exactly. If you Patreon.com/AndroidFaithful, if you were a patron, you didn't hear that ad that just played there.
There you go. That's
Isn't
the
it
best
beautiful?
You know
value
what?
add we can give you right there. Right?
I'm just saying. I didn't hear the ad that just played there.
See,
Easy peasy.
it's all
Yep.
coming up, Millhouse.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, we do a patron pick every week where there's a number of things that happen. It gets more and more complicated with every week. You submit art, we show the art. You vote for your favorite story, we only talk about the story that you voted for and discard the rest. And then we name your names. See, there's so much that happens when you are a patron. Actually, anyone can submit art. And we have a pretty good one here. It's putting off some serious Midsommar vibes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I'm into it.
Yeah, I'm into it. Frolicking in the prairie with the flower hat and an Android newspaper, which is
Just
like a
in time.
general running theme with these pictures.
Yeah, just
Right.
The text has been getting better and better.
They
like,
really
as months
have.
go on.
You're seeing the evolution of these AI models and their image generation, but with the advent of spring, we need a spring flower child bug droid to read the Android news. So there you go. So.
Well, I'm happy that it's a spring bug child and not a Midsommar throwback, because
Yes.
this is about to get really dark if that's the case. Anyways, Devor Dobrovolny, thank you so much for sending that in. Wonderful image. Anyone can submit one of these images. Contact at androidfaithful.com. And then the other part is that we have put up for our patrons 3 stories. You have, if you are a patron, the ability to vote on the one that you want us to talk about. And this week, boy, there was one big loser. Ulefone Armor 30
Oh
Pro is
my.
official with 2 displays and RGB loudspeaker.
Those
4%.
Ulefhones. Oh, you guys are missing out on the Ulefhones.
Is it Ulefone?
Elephones.
Ew.
Yeah.
More like
I saw Flo,
Ulefone.
someone posted on our Discord. Flo wrote about the Ulefone with the projector in it. These phones are great. You guys, you should look them up. Anyway.
Oh, I
There
did
you
too. Yeah, that was a fun one. That I called it the brick.
Yeah, the brick. Yep.
It's a brick phone. But we're not going to talk about that because you really didn't want us to. Well, 4% of you did. But anyways, you lost.
4%,
You can now
4%
replace...
of us were really happy about the last 30 seconds, though.
Right. You can now replace Gemini with ChatGPT on your Android phone. That only got 41%, much more than 4%, but not the winner. No, the winner this week has to do with a larger story. So this is one of those situations where we're going to talk about the story that was voted, and we're going to like with a Hoover vacuum, we're going to suck in some other news that would have been in the show regardless. But the story that you wanted us to talk about, this crazy Android gaming handheld, has a foldable 2-screen design and a powerful new chip. I have to load it up because I didn't do that in advance. My apologies. But here is, if you're watching the video version, here is the design. Essentially, this display is like a shape-shifting display that can go between a few different form factors. You've got kind of your Switch style form factor, and then somewhere along the lines, it kind of all transforms more than meets
It's a
the eye.
transformer. That's what it is.
Totally is. And it goes into more of like a DS style. I mean,
You know,
this
it
thing
could be
just
a
looks
GoBot.
cool.
Yeah, this is so like the
1X Sugar
flip-
1 is what it's called.
The controllers have a what is it, like a hinge, right? So
Like a top hinge so that they rotate.
so they fold. When they're folded up, it looks like almost like a big tablet, but with controllers, and then fold down into like a DS style kind of thing. This is crazy.
This is actually a good
cool.
opportunity, and not to get into off-topic news, but the announcement of the second generation Switch was like happy, but everyone was kind of complaining or maybe surprised that Nintendo wasn't weird enough.
Yep.
I
To
feel
do
like
other things.
to do other things, to kind of change up
Well,
the form
I-
factor, to do something cute, and this is pretty dang cute, y'all.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like the
Weird.
Switch 2 was disappointing because it just went to being black and boring with like a little bit of color highlight.
You got a
where the
job.
s-
It's paying
right,
taxes. This
Yeah, I
one's
got a job. Yeah.
this one's going to liberal arts school and taking a summer abroad and doing the cool stuff.
Yeah.
So this is the one. What is it? One sugar? Is that what it's called?
1X Sugar 1. Or
That
something.
certainly rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. 1X Sugar 1. 1X Sugar 1. The Ouya sure has come a long way, hasn't it?
Oh, it really has.
This is going to go up for pre-order in May. Now, this is the news that you asked for, but it's part of a larger story. And so what you didn't ask for is the rest of the story, which I'm just going to give to you anyways. Qualcomm unveiled its next generation gaming chips. This is part of the announcement as one of the hardware partners, because it is powered by the most premium of the gaming chips that Qualcomm announced, the Snapdragon G3 Gen 3, another name that just rolls off the tongue, which has 30% faster CPU over the previous generation, 28% faster graphics, supports up to QHD plus 144 hertz displays, supports ray tracing, Wi-Fi 7. Sorry, it's got me choked up. It's really impressive. And then there's God, you guys, you don't understand. This is an amazing chip. And then there are a couple of other kind of lower down the pole, as far as power is concerned.
Screw those guys.
Mid-range Snapdragon G2 Gen 2, which is a little bit less, but still very capable. And then the entry-level one is this G1 Gen, you'd think 1, but no, it's Gen 2. G1 Gen 2, which is ideal for cloud streaming emulation. Only has support for FHD plus 120 hertz display only. But what that gets you is all of these like hardware partner devices that are certainly coming down the pipeline. I told you about we talked already about the 1X Sugar 1. I can't keep these names straight.
1X Sugar.
one X Sugar. There's the Ionio or Ionio, whatever you want to call it, gaming pad, G3 Gen 3, so the highest performing chip, 8.3-inch LCD display, 2K resolution, 120 hertz with a May launch upcoming. So that kind of looks like just a straight up integrated kind of Switch style ish sort of thing.
I think it says 6.3 inch, right? Not 8.3.
Oh, did I get that wrong? What did I say? Oh,
I think
said
8.3.
Sorry, that was a typo. Yes, 6.3 inch. It's not quite that big. The 1X Sugar, which I already told you about. There is now this one's really cool. This might be the one that I really actually want. Is the Retroid Pocket PR Classic. It's actually powered by the lowest performing chip, the G1 Gen 2, but it's done in a Game Boy style and it's meant for emulation. And so imagine having this little sucker and all of your emulated consoles on it. And I'm kind of thinking that looks
that
pretty
is
hot.
such a product category now, by the way. All of these retro handheld devices, like there's been an explosion on these, and it's so freaking cool to see these getting kind of like even more recognized and getting better chipset and all that stuff. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. I don't know. That one looks pretty awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong. The 1X Sugar 1 is pretty neato. I just probably wouldn't use all of that power, like all I'm really care about is the emulation, to be honest.
Yeah.
And you can emulate Game Boy games on a potato.
Yeah.
You don't need the G3 Gen 3 for Game Boy.
And I'll be fine.
Totally. What was that, Adam? I missed that.
All I want to do is play Royal Match, and I'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You can do that, I'm sure. What console is that on? What am I missing here?
My phone.
Oh, you have it. So
yeah, I don't do console gaming. But
yeah, fair enough. I mean, really, neither do I anymore. But so that's cool. So that's part of the wider story. It's the big picture that drives the story that you all voted for. Thank you so much for sending in your votes and for participating. Also want to shout out our patron of the week, if we do, we'll call him that, Butch Henderson. Butch, thank you for supporting us on the Patreon. Patreon.com/Android Faithful. You help us do this each and every week, and we give you the show without any ads like that last one that you just heard. So, neato. There we go.
Very cool.
Good times.
What are we doing? Another ad break?
No, we should just go right into hardware, I think.
Oh, okay. I saw the
We got
yellow
so
thing.
much.
I saw the
Push
yellow
through!
thing in the
Let's
dock.
go!
I was like, well, let's drive the point home for patrons. No, we won't. We'll save you. Win. What you got in hardware?
I got some leaky peekies. One is an actual pretty good looky-loo, and one of them is genuinely just a peek, like just the tiniest little hint of something. But let's talk about the thing we actually can take a fully good look at least some renders on, and that is the Motorola Edge 60 Fusion in, quote, official-looking renders. So the Motorola Edge 60 Fusion is part of the upcoming 60 series. It will be the most affordable device in the 60 series, and there's going to be an official announcement on April 2nd about it in India, with sales beginning or anticipated to begin in April 9th in India. Although there is a listed expected price in Europe of 350 euros, so this is very solidly a nice mid-ranger as we like around here. And the renders look very nice. If you looked at some of the Motorola 50s, it looks very, very similar. Got the probably soft touch feel back. It's got that gently sloping, you can't even call it a camera bump. It's like a little camera plateau, a little camera hill.
Yeah.
Camera pillow.
A camera pillow on which rests a 4-unit. Well, actually, sorry. I'm so sorry. It's 3. It's actually 3 cameras, which is one more than last year from the previous Motorola Edge 50. But it does have a nice little symmetrical 4 circles, one of them being the flash, of course, but there's now 3 camera units. And these renders, if they are to be believed, have I think they're going for more like chill, muted colorways this year.
Definitely muted, yeah.
Very muted. I guess your mileage might vary on that. I kind of like a little more vibrant personally, but they're still very pleasant. Kind of a greenish teal, a rosy pink, but still again muted, kind of not pastel-y, just very chill.
Ain't gonna find
nice
no peony here. That's for
no
sure.
peony, no pank here. Just
No
just
pank.
a rose. There you go. It's a rose, a teal, a lavender. Lavender. They go lavender.
Yeah.
Lavender. So that's the outside. What's on the inside? Well, if rumors are to be believed, and if I can actually scroll up on my notes, you've got a 6.7-inch quad curved AMOLED display with 120 hertz refresh rate, a MediaTek Dimensity 7400 processor, a 50 megapixel Sony LYT700 main camera, a 13 megapixel secondary camera, and a nice little 32, not too shabby megapixel camera on the front. So you're going to get a battery life bump from the Edge 50 Fusion with 5,500 milliamps over 5,000 milliamps last year. And we've been seeing this a little bit this year, a upgrade in the durability. So the previous generation was IP68. This model will be IP69. So if you don't remember what that is, it's water and dust resistant. And it is resistant not just to water immersion for extended periods of time, but also powerful high-pressure water jets, extreme weather conditions, salt, vibration, and even the occasional drop on a hard surface.
And hot water.
And hot water. So don't play tennis
And
with it,
dishwashers.
It'll
dishwashers.
certainly survive Jason's dishwasher and Jason's toilet, apparently.
The toilet, dishwasher, and washing machine.
And the washing machine, all
them
those
all.
appliances, supplying them all.
Yep.
It is
You
a
did
mid-range
not put your
phone.
phone in the toilet, did you?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, it's on video. There's evidence.
Oh my God,
Flush
Jason!
too.
All right, I know you're into this, but we should probably talk after the show. Okay, go ahead.
I have so much to learn.
It is a mid-range model, so a not unexpected 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, according to the leaky pickies. So that is the rumor on the Motorola Edge 60 Fusion, the most affordable of the 60s upcoming. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a really attractive looking phone. If it has the same soft touch back as a Motorola 50s, it's going to be a very, very nice mid-ranger, and approximately somewhere between 380 US to, I think there was even a rumor of it being around more 300 US, at least in terms of Indian currency conversion. So it's a really pretty phone if renders are to be believed, but I guess we'll see in April.
The soft touch approach on this, because I just recently had reviewed the Moto G 2025, and it has the same, a very similar kind of design in the back, minus the kind of camera array is very different. But that soft touch is really nice out of the box, and for a while what I've noticed is that over time, though, it collects dirt. Like it kind of
Oh.
sticky, dirty quality.
It's a bit of a
to it.
magnet.
It's like those
right?
old
Yeah.
pixel cases that kind of get discolored and stuff. And
Oh, the
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
white one.
I'm not
grimy.
noticing
Yellow.
discoloration, but I'm definitely noticing that like little specks of things just start to kind of find their way on, and they're kind of hard to get off. You know,
The
you try and, like,
tackiness of it
Yeah.
is yeah.
so
yeah.
it's just something to keep in mind. on
not
that.
tacky and like not tasteful, but tacky in touch. Right.
Right.
So
Yeah. Not quite sticky. You know, it's not like it's sticky when you thumb, but things
all
stick to
sticky.
it. And you're like,
Well-
oh, get off of there, dust or hair or whatever that is. You know what I mean? It just kind of
Oh, yeah, like a lacrosse ball or just something silicone that drops
Yeah.
on the carpet. Just picks up every little
Yeah.
thing. Probably like a dog
Yep.
or
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
All right. Well, we have a super tiny little peekie for you, and that is courtesy of Android Headlines, who has a lot of the fun peekies these days. And this is going to be a phone from Huawei, which was given just the tiniest hint of a little peek by Richard Yu, Huawei's chairman, in a 12-second video preview on Weibo. So this is allegedly a clamshell foldable with a, quote, unconventional design named the Pura. Okay. Pura. So the interesting thing about this is that it is a clamshell foldable, so like your flips and your Motorola Razors. What's really interesting about it is that it's actually quite wide in terms of aspect ratio. And if you're on the video, you can probably see it. If you're on the audio only, I can only describe it as something akin to like maybe the old Nexus 10 kind of, but a little bit smaller, but it really looks like a mini tablet, like a Fire
Like a Nexus
10.
6? Are
Yeah.
you thinking?
Nexus
Oh,
6.
I
Yeah,
see.
somewhere.
I'm
little
thinking of like
larger.
the handset. You remember the old Nexus 6 handset that was like
Oh, just
big and wide?
just huge. I
Yeah.
pulled my thumb. I'm not even kidding. I pulled my thumb using that one. So the idea with this phone is that even though it's a clamshell, it's actually, even when folded, going to be quite wide. And so when it unfolds, it's going to be even wider. So yeah, it's going to be more like a tablet, like a genuine, more portraity style tablet. And if you're curious, please go ahead and see the screenshots that people have grabbed from this preview video. But it does look like a good reading device, and again, like something like a Fire, maybe sort of Kindle-y, but it still will fold down into a clamshell phone, and presumably like the folded form factor will be a bit wider, and that's what we know. Like, again, 16:10 ratio. What we can see from the video is very thin displays, or very thin bezels, a centered punch hole camera on the main display, and yes, we'll know more about what this thing is in a couple of days. Today's Tuesday, March 18th. The official launch event is March 20th. But the chairman, you described it as, quote, more than just a mobile phone.
Oh,
And that's it. That's it. I mean, it's always,
Isn't that what everybody's chasing? Like, it's more than
Yeah.
just a phone. It's a this, it's a that, it's a,
I
you know,
mean-
it can do your taxes.
it's
it
just
can-
a
it can-
wider clamshell folding phone. Like,
Yeah.
we've been
Although I'm
complaining that.
surprised nobody's done this. Like a more, like if you took if you took a Galaxy Fold and rotated it and turned it into a flip,
I think probably the reason is just because if you make it too wide, it kind of defeats the purpose of like having this
Right.
really,
yeah.
really, it's easy to hold in your one hand phone.
Unless
that
it's
you
more
can
than a
always
phone,
carry around.
Michelle. If it's more
This
than a
is kind of
phone,
like-
then
This
It's,
is looking kind of like a Kindle reader that folds in half. Like I could get it like not a Kindle reader, but it's just a Kindle. But
yeah.
Or
yeah.
the way it's described, it reminds me of like the OG, because obviously we still miss the like some of us miss the OG Pixel Fold, but the OG Pixel Fold, shrink it down a little bit and turn it on its side, like that.
yeah,
Like
I can
it's
see that.
wide. It's wide. It's more comfortable for reading. So we will see just a couple more days, and I hopefully we'll have something really interesting to talk to y'all about when we actually figure out what this thing is, because we don't really know. But it's more than just a mobile phone.
God! Right now I'm
It's
racking my brain. Ron, you were the only one of this cast that was on at this time, because this was early 2010s,
Okay.
where I had a phone. I can't remember if it was a Sony or an LG, or I can't remember what it was, but it was a clamshell, and it was a foldable.
Yeah. We've
But it
talked
had
about this
two-
before.
Two screens, but it was like a long foldable. Like when I'm thinking
Yeah.
about like stretching out the clamshell, it was like, like landscape top bottom.
Yeah.
And What was
It was
that
the Sony
phone?
Tablet P.
Oh my goodness, you figured it out. Yes, that
No,
was it.
I searched Google for it, Jason. I
so
searched.
did I, but I couldn't get it.
I searched listen, man. I'm a good searcher. Gemini could learn a thing or two from me. I
There
searched
we
Sony
go.
Foldable 2011.
Oh, it looks like a Nintendo DS, but a phone.
It does.
Yeah, hold on.
it
I'm
does.
getting past the
Yeah.
ads. I still need to pay for YouTube Premium. I don't know why I don't, but
You don't have. I mean, you don't have to do that.
Oh my God! Look at Jason's
Oh,
hair.
it's young Jason.
the Sony Tablet P. Oh, I
And
was
it's
making
like-
a point here. This was my clever point that the display had a crease down the center. Yeah, I thought that was so
Great
cool.
video.
But anyways, yeah. So it's like a
Who is
like
that kid?
A why?
Oh my God! Look at baby Jason. He's so
Whoa.
cool.
So, audio
was this?
listeners, we're watching a video from Twit of the
Sorry.
Sony Tablet P that's on YouTube from 2011, and Jason has got very cool 2010s hair, indie rock hair going on, along with this foldable tablet that looks that the bezel
Oh
on
my
that is
goodness.
enormous.
Yeah.
Well, I also love the side profile. When you closed it, it looked like it's an extremely flat ellipse. This is not a foldable as we know it today. Like
What-
when you close, yeah,
Basically, like a curved Nintendo
Oh, yeah.
DS XL.
the back is curved. Yeah, it's like exactly.
It just
is
what
so
you
wild.
what you all were talking about as far as like elongating the clamshell too long, you get something completely different. This is what comes to mind. It's like, wow, well, if you go to that extreme, I don't know what you call this, but it's definitely different.
That was 50 seconds too long. The taffy puller. That's what that is. Just like maybe 20 seconds, and we good. Amazing.
Oh, interesting.
Oh
Good.
God, look at the hinges on that. There's like
The hinge was
this,
enormous. Yeah, you could see the
the-
hinge. It was amazing. Yeah.
This is not like hinges on we
Yeah.
see on foldables, y'all. This is like these are mechanical hinges that are like off, like kind of
What was-
sticking up from this from the phone. They're like
What was
door
that ring
hinges.
that you're wearing there, Jason?
That's Jason's thumb ring.
Oh yeah, that was my thumb ring era, which actually lasted a very long time.
Oh,
It-
Yeah.
It was
Very-
often it was Jason's alter ego on the show when he was demoing phones. You would see how it related to the thumb ring in size.
Yeah.
That's how you knew the size.
For
It was
scale.
like banana for scale, but thumb ring
Exactly.
for scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Amazing.
that's
But,
kind of weird, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, the thumb ring is now a middle finger ring. So take from that
Ah.
what you will. Adam. Do I need to show you my ring, Adam, on my middle finger? Or are we gonna move on?
Let's move
That's what
on.
I thought.
I guess
Oh,
you
I
can if you
said-
want.
Wow, got intense.
Wow.
All right, moving
Yeah,
on.
this got weird.
Whoa.
Thank you, Win. Real quickly, just want to follow up on an announcement from of a phone that I've been keeping an eye on. The announcement came out last summer. The minimalist Light Phone 3 is now scheduled to launch later this month on March 27th. For those of you who don't know what the Light Phone is, it is literally as it described, it is a light phone. It is meant to be a less features than your standard flagship feature-rich phone. The earlier versions of this phone featured an e-ink display. For the Light Phone 3, they've moved to a 3.92-inch AMOLED display. They added a camera and NFC chip. They're starting to slowly add more features every time this phone comes out. So it's like inching closer to fully featured, but it's black and white, very minimal. The idea is that you use it to make calls, text people. Now you can take pictures. You can use it for payments. They have a little podcast integration in there. And it's actually funny because looking at photos of this, I don't know if anybody's watching on Hulu the show Paradise with James Marsden and the other guy that was on This Is Us. I forget his name. Oh, Sterling K. Brown. But I don't want to give away what's going on in that show, but it's one of those shows where they all have phones that are like prop phones. Like they're not phones that exist. Like they didn't go with any one brand, but they all actually inadvertently look like the Light Phone because they're just these black bricks with black and white text. And so I thought that was pretty cool. But
I pre-ordered this, by the way.
so if you
did. That's
pre-ordered
awesome.
it, you got
You
the special
did?
pricing. It's available for $5.99 for a liteed time, but they're going to increase the price to $7.99. So if you are interested in a distraction-free phone, get on it. Go to Lightphone's website over at thelightphone.com. My wife is a big proponent of distraction-free kind of living, and I kind of want her to get this, but she needs apps and stuff to do for work and things like that, so she's not. But this is, if you can make this leap, go check out their website. It's really interesting of what it can do. So
Yeah. No.
Adam, I gotta imagine you're the last person for this phone.
And at $7.99, my God, like
black
they're
and white.
guaranteeing that you will not be using any other phone. Like you're using this phone and that's it because you can't afford anything else. But man, that's just too much. I mean, it's an interesting concept, and I get that that's digital minimalism is kind of a thing, but that's
it's a lot.
There, mistakes were made. Let's just say that.
And it is running a flavor, their own flavor of Android called Light OS, right? So it is in the family. I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. So you need to do a full review of this phone.
Super curious.
Yeah. I think Jason and I are big e-ink fans, and I unfortunately have more e-ink devices than I know what to do with, and this is going to be another one. I will say I got it for a steal. I didn't realize that the final price would be $7. How much was it? $7.99.
$7.99 after the early bird pricing.
I would have not have bought it at $7.99. I think so what I got it for was $4.50 after tax and shipping, which I think is reasonable. I don't know. That feels like a little more what I was willing to dump.
Yeah.
That
totally.
for this device, because it's the purpose is that it's stripped down. It doesn't have the bells and whistles. It doesn't need 150,000 hertz of like refresh, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's surprising to me it's that expensive.
Yeah, and I pre-ordered it for like, I mean, not half is a little bit generous, but like what, 2/3 of the price. So yeah, I'll let y'all know.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll blow my mind. It'll be worth $7.99, but I think even the most expensive, nicest e-ink devices are not that expensive. Not too far off, but not $7.99.
Well, this isn't e-ink anymore. It's AMOLED. It actually
Wait.
it's not e-ink, but just black and white.
Right.
Then why don't we just get a TCL something? I don't know. Anyway, I'm a little mad about the pricing, but I'm not mad but I did pay less than that for it. So I'll let y'all know. Maybe it's worth it.
You're mad for others.
I'm mad for others. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. We're still in the hardware, man. This is the slog continues.
sorry.
We're almost there though. Like we're
doing
good.
We're gonna make it.
Yeah. Although my family has texted me not once, not twice, but 3 times. Are you almost done?
All right.
And my answer to each one has been, I don't know.
Did you know the podcast that I'm doing? No.
Yeah, not my show. I don't know. Just
this next bit of hardware is actually quite interesting because back in January we had a special guest, Eric Mijakovsky, on the show to talk about the relaunch, the revival of Pebble. So Google had announced they were open sourcing Pebble OS and a lot of the firmware, and Eric mentioned that he's going to be building new watches with this open source version of the Pebble OS. And lo and behold, earlier today, he did just that. He announced the Core 2 Duo and the Core Time 2. These are 2 watches that run the open source Pebble OS. They are basically modernized versions of the Pebble 2 and the Pebble Time 2, the latter which was never actually publicly released. And I did speak to Eric yesterday about the launch, and I see that Adam did as well. So I wanted to hear from you, Adam. Like, what are your takeaway about the Core 2 Duo and the Core Time 2?
So I'm really interested in them, and I want to get my hands on them. I think it's an interesting, and I brought this up too, Eric. Back when the Pebble first came out, it wasn't, I mean, it was a choice, but it wasn't really a choice. It was more like a lack of options. Like when the Pebble first came out, there were basically no other smartwatches. I think maybe LG had one, and I want to say that was about it. Like, because the Moto 360 didn't even come out until the next year, 2013, or maybe it was later the same year, whatever. So like, they definitely found a niche there. Now, they said that the Core 2 Duo is basically kind of like a Pebble 2 Redux, basically. And so like now there's so much choice. There's so many options out there for a smartwatch. It's almost refreshing that we can, get something like with an e-paper display and a 30-day battery life. I mean, that's kind of the headline that we haven't talked about yet and I believe that's a theoretical 30-day battery life, but even if it's half of that, like, that's awesome. Especially with the color version, which is going to be coming out in December, long time from now. But the color version is going to have a 30-day battery life as well. Plus, it's going to be a touch screen, so it's going to have complications. I asked Eric, like, over the years, since the Pebble went away and now that we're here and now, like, what have you picked up from other smartwatches that you thought like would be a good thing to add to the Pebble? And his one and only answer was complications, which I respect that. At the same time, I'm also kind of worried that only one of these two watches is going to have a touch screen. So I'm worried that the UI is not going to be touch optimized. I think it's just going to be a thing that you can do, but otherwise it's going to rely solely on the buttons, which, fine, I guess. But, you got a touch screen, may as well use it. But
I mean, he told me straight up that they're not going to be really building the OS around touch. That's not the primary way of navigating. Is still going to be buttons because that is the Pebble way of doing things.
Right. But the reason he's adding the touchscreen is because what complications give you is glanceable information that you can then tap to take you directly to that app. So you don't have, you can like cut out like a whole bunch of steps, which I really appreciate. So like it would be nice if they could support swipes and other gestures like that, but I'm fine with it. I'm interested in trying it out. Probably more the color one than the black and white one, but I think they both have. We were just talking about digital minimalism. This is digital minimalism. I mean, this is going to give you notifications. It'll track your sleep and your steps, and that's it. They don't even have GPS on board, which, like, for me, is not a big deal because everywhere I go that I want to track exercise, I have my phone, and whatever exercise app can just pull it from that. Not a big deal. But for like people that are like runners and athletes, Eric has straight out said, this is not the watch for you. And if you want a watch that, has all the fine details, sorted out and, taken care of, this watch is not for you. This is kind of for people that are nostalgic for the Pebble 2 or the Pebble Time and, just want it in newer hardware with better battery life and a few other improvements.
That's probably part of the reason why the number of devices that they're making is pretty limited as well,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you want one, you got to pre-order because they're only making a limited quantity. And after they're done making it, they're not going to be making a lot more because there's a limited availability of the actual displays that they're using on these watches.
Right.
Like when I asked Eric, like, why is the Core 2 Duo able to ship next month while the Core Time 2 is shipping in December? And he told me, because we are actually basically recycling a lot of the internal hardware from the Pebble 2. We asked the supplier, and they still had old Pebble 2 components left over that we could just reuse for the Core 2 Duo. So that's why they're able to get it out much more quickly than the other device, which they had to produce it new. So if you want one of these watches, the Core 2 Duo $159, I think, and then the Core Time 2 is $229. $149 and $225.
Yeah, close enough. And it's also important to point out that the core devices, which is the new name of the company, which is why the watches are called the cores. But anyway, core devices is like 2, 3, 4 people tops. So they're in this to, they don't want to give the things away, but they're also not looking to be the next Amazfit or something like that. They want to provide devices for people that want these devices, and I respect that. I'm here for it. So good for them, and I'm looking forward to trying them out myself.
Yeah, and if you are looking forward to trying one out yourself, it's highly recommended that you do so with an Android phone because, as Eric Michikowski rightfully pointed out, if you try to use this with an iPhone, which they will support, they are working on a companion app for iPhone, but if you do, you're going to be missing a lot of features because of the way that iOS basically doesn't really play nice with third-party wearables in terms of, what features are available or keeping the app in memory or, things like that. So be sure to read his blog post. There's a lot of caveats about using the Core watches with iPhones. So if you are an iPhone user and you want to buy one, just be aware of those limitations.
Man, Adam must not be popular in Cupertino. right? Between beeper and then now this, like it just keeps.
You mean-
going.
I mean, Eric.
You mean Eric?
I mean Eric, not Adam. Sorry, Eric. Eric must not be. Adam,
I was just
you're-
like, what did I do?
I'm sorry. No, I meant
Oh.
Eric. Eric must not be
So
popular
sorry.
in Cupertino.
One of my friends is a big Pebble watch and already ordered his Pebble, like pre-ordered one of the Pebbles, and he's an iOS user. I'm not sending this link.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
buddy.
I mean, like, there are smartwatches that will work with iPhones. The Honor Watch that I just reviewed for /gear, the Honor Watch 5 Ultra 5, whatever. That one worked with iOS, and it was okay. It was kind of a pain getting the app to download because it wasn't available in my country. But like, watches like Amazfits and Garmin's, they all work with Apple. I have not looked very closely at this blog post, so I want to kind of go over it before I really put my foot in my mouth. But I mean, like, it's not impossible to make smartwatches work with iOS, Eric. So just,
But to what degree?
keep working on that.
What
Keep working
degree?
on that.
Real quick before we move on, want to go down a little memory lane, even more so. Pebble Watch came out
good.
in 2013, right? 2011 was the Motorola Moto Active wearable, which look at
Whoa.
2011
Oh my
wearable.
gosh, that's huge.
Oh,
Is that just really zoomed in, or is that just actually that big?
On a very small
well,
wrist.
I mean, no, it's very zoomed in. I mean, this is this is
that
the wrist.
industrial wallpaper. Is
It's on baby
so-
Jason's wrist.
This isn't mine. This is off of Wikipedia. Maybe I can't
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
if I ever saw this in person. And then the next year, this is 1 year before the Pebble Watch, was the Sony smartwatch. And I do
Oh, I
remember
forgot
this
Sony
one.
had
Yep, I remember
one.
that one.
Yeah,
That's
you remember
right.
that one?
Yep.
Oh, and I can't see it because I don't have a Verge subscription. But anyways, so,
Okay,
yeah.
before we move on, I have to ask y'all: do you prefer square or circular watches?
I have
Square or
no
circle?
real preference.
Squircle.
Honestly. Yeah, I mean, I
'Cause
wear
that's the one
both.
thing I don't vibe with the core or the Pebble design, just the square.
This
I
is
love
Square.
circular watches.
Oh,
I've spent way more time with Circle than Square,
Yeah.
and so I'm just more
Yeah.
comfortable with it. But yeah,
I think you can
Yeah.
do cooler things with complications on a circular watch face. But that being said, I have seen some really nice square watch faces that I really dig. Especially with like the numbers like going around the side and getting like skeuomorphic, like when they go up in the corners. I dig those watch faces. Am I the only one here that forces himself to use analog watch hands just to like continually remind myself on how to read a clock?
I definitely do not force myself to use.
To
it.
hold
not
on,
use an
to hold
analog
on to the
Annoying me.
past.
I just want the time fast. I don't want to have to decipher. Just want the time.
I feel like it's like kind of like anti-millennial code to like have the watch hands and like, what time is it? Well, look at that. I don't know what that means. It's like cursive. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like
Yes,
cursive and stick
exactly.
shift driving.
It's like a decoder pin.
Yep.
All right, that's hardware, and we didn't even talk about how Core 2 Duo was like an Intel thing first, but we're not going to. We're going to move on to apps. Ron,
We are going to move on to apps. So, as I said earlier in the show, Google dropped a bunch of news. Also in the news drop last Thursday was related to Gemini, when they announced a bunch of stuff last Thursday, and they announced not a bunch, but some more stuff today. I'm going to quickly go through it all because not all of it is specific to Android, but it's Google and Gemini and kind of in the world. First and probably the biggest one that will affect the most everybody listening is the fact that last Thursday they announced that that Gemini now is going to be able to pretty much get personal with you. They're adding deep personalization within your Gemini interactions that basically will access your search history and your other connected apps, whether it's Gmail, Maps, Calendar, etc., like that. And the idea is to give you a more contextual and relevant responses based off your digital footprint within Google. Most importantly, this is opt-in. There's an opt-in process, and they're prioritizing your privacy and your user control. You can go into Gemini and you'll be able to select get personal responses as one of the options within there. And so by doing this, they're going to reference your past searches when you're asking questions, pull information from all the apps that you use. And basically, this is inching forward to that agentic, like we talked a lot about that kind of like presence of Gemini, almost like an assistant, helping you make travel plans and things like that based off what it already knows about you. So that's a pretty major change in terms of the interaction of what Gemini will be able to do. And then the other updates were more developer focused. They basically, within Android Studio, they've added Gemini's visual tools within Android Developer Studio. So now what you can do is you can use images within Android Studio and use Gemini to power that to help you create functional components. So you could sketch out a wireframe and say, okay, analyze this and build that, or tell me how to build it, or how should I test this, by uploading images and uploading, user flows and things like that, and its ability to, basically generate code based off of any sort of UI mockups or sketches or things like that you provide. So this is kind of crazy for developers. I mean, is this something that you would utilize? Would you sketch out a UI and use Gemini in Developer Studio to help you build it, or like what do you think of this one?
Maybe. I like the visual. There's parts of this that I do like the visual bug hunting and things like that, which is really helpful. I think the sketching out part, I think it'd be good for a rough draft, but I think over time you probably want to. You would end up having to tweak like something like architecture and all like the wiring stuff, but
Right.
it is really interesting. It is really good for a nice rough pass or proof of concept, especially if, like, a lot of times what happens, like especially with new features and new screens, there is a period of like maybe research, like R&D, research and discovery, where you might have a really great idea. It just takes a while for someone to be able to visualize that idea and give you permission to do it. This actually might be really cool to make something like that happen. You know what I mean? Like that could actually lead to people doing cooler things a little bit faster or with a lot more permission.
Almost like a rapid prototype phase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that part helps. I think a lot of times with architecture, you fine tune it over time because that involves things like performance and like working with backend. But I do think this is really, really cool. Yes. Sometimes the code that it generates is not perfect, so I still need to fine hand. But yeah, no.
Well,
good tools.
That leads to the announcement that dropped earlier today, which is they introduced some collaborative upgrades within Gemini, specifically around document collaboration and code generation. So working within Gemini will allow you to. They've introduced something called Canvas, which allows you to basically work on a document in real time with Gemini. So you can annotate documents and images and other things like that. You can organize information and basically have a collaborative session with Gemini as you work on something, if you're writing something or developing some sort of research. But then specifically, you can also use Canvas for coding in that, where you can work with Gemini to say, hey, I have an idea for an app. This is what I wanted to do. What should it do? And Canvas will open up and it will show you, the code snippets that you need, give you instructions, and when this will make you laugh. I went into Gemini and said, I want to make an app to do this, yada, yada. And Canvas opened up and I got, okay, open Android Developer Studio, choose this as the setting, then do this. Now load your, I forgot the module, whatever, into this one. What is the, it was a weird word. What's the bundle? With a G, is it something like that? Or I forget what it was, but I could pull up Gemini and see exactly what it said. But within less than 5 minutes, I had a whole background on how to build this app that I asked it to do. Basically, it tells you how to set up the project. Build.gradle. In Android Studio, it tells you where to put API keys. And then it says, okay, in activity_main.xml, create a layout with a text view to display location and add a button. And, and with specific code, I didn't get it working, but I had to go to a meeting, but it basically laid the blueprint. So I'm going to keep tinkering it to see if it works. And the example they have is that people, creating a tic-tac-toe game purely within Gemini, with React Native and things like that. So it's really, really fascinating and really, again, Gemini getting even more powerful and stronger. And then additionally, they added audio overviews to Gemini, which if anybody uses Notebook LM, this should not be a surprise, but you can load up documents and information and have it create a podcast of the information you gave it to if you absorb information by listening, which is always crazy. I did this with Notebook LM. I loaded all the product requirements documents for Scorebit, and I said, make a podcast out of it. And then it created a half an hour conversation between two people analyzing our app and our approach. I shared it with our whole team, and people were like, "What is this? How do they know?" And it really freaked people out.
Oh my goodness!
I could have saved myself so much time if we had just loaded this and all these stories into the thing.
Adam, here's all the links.
Right?
Please output a version of you for the podcast.
So lots of Gemini stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just a side note, I was impressed with myself because I live and die by spreadsheets. Like that's how my freelance life is organized. And I was trying to figure out how to do something in a Google Sheet, and I asked Copilot how to do it, and it actually gave me like all the code that I needed in order to do like take all these individual items from all these individual sheets and then compile them into a list and get rid of all the spaces in between. And it was just like, yeah, here's how you do that. I'm like, why didn't I do this a month ago?
I
did Googling.
I did that for my Oscar pool. I had a spreadsheet of over at iFanboy, we have like our patrons do an Oscar pool. So I had a spreadsheet of like 100 responses, and I wanted to like put the winner and then have it highlight each cell. And I went to Gemini and like in Google Docs, how do I do this? And it did it, and it made it work for me, and it was great. So
crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Love it.
Gemini is coming for all things, including
things.
Assistant. It is official, although not completed. But it's official that Gemini is replacing Assistant. We kind of knew this was already happening, but starting with Android phones, devices above, well, I think it's 2 gigs of RAM and above, running Android 10 or something more than Android 9. I don't know if there's like a point release in there that qualifies, but I'm assuming it's Android 10 and older and newer, will eventually have Assistant entirely replaced by Gemini later this year. And then if you have a device that's old, that's Android 9 or older, less than 2 gigs of RAM, that switch is not going to happen because you need a certain amount of power to power the Gemini AI on device. And who knows, maybe that will end up in a resurgence for some people of really old phones. They're like, no, I do not want Gemini on my device. So we will save taps for later this year. I don't think it's right yet. It's not time for
we just need to mentally prepare. It's we know it's coming.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Assistant is going away. Google is going to obviously continually kneecap Assistant capabilities because they did that again with 7 more features being removed, including birthday reminders, interpreter mode, Family Bell integrations, daily updates like weather, and a bunch of others.
Family Bell.
Oh, Family Bell. That was big in our house during COVID.
I was gonna say, Jason, do you still use it or no?
No,
not
now.
I got rid of all those, yeah.
But yeah, I mean my Google Home devices, I don't have any of the screens. I just have the little pucks, the minis, and then I have a couple of the larger ones in the living room and the kitchen. They just continue to do weird things. Like they're far less dependable than they ever were. They used to just work and now they don't, and they're almost paperweights at this point.
Well, maybe they'll get more dependable because as part of this announcement, didn't Google say they're going to bring Gemini to a lot more devices?
Eventually, yeah, they're gonna open it up and they're gonna bring it to a lot more devices. Absolutely, those devices included, though they didn't give any time frame. They also didn't say like how old those devices are going to be, to have Gemini integrated. So we'll see. Like are the older Google Home devices, do they have enough of the power inside of them to run Gemini, or is it?
I mean, it's not like they run it on device or anything.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if it's Gemini Nano on the smartphone, they do, but I doubt on the Google Homes that they do. So anyways,
right.
Questions there, but yes, they will be updated eventually. So, say your goodbyes to Assistant while you can. While your Assistant is still alive, tell it how much it's meant to you over the past however many years.
My Assistant knows. I don't need to say anything special.
I always crack up because one thing we do use our Google Homes for still is my older daughter uses it as her alarm clock. And so every night when I go in there to say goodnight, she's like, hey, G, set alarm for 7 a.m. or whatever, or 6 a.m. And often its response is like, fine, your alarm is set for 6:30. And we just kind of laugh at how like it feels kind of passive aggressive in how
Right.
it responds. Like
Right.
there, it's set for
I don't-
6:30. I did the
I don't-
thing. Now leave me alone.
I don't know what happened, but I use a Lenovo clock as my alarm, and when I tell it to snooze, it always says, "Okay, you're snoozed," and it's like you don't need the second "okay" there. Like you sound a little irritated, and come on, dude.
The
Like,
biggest complaint my
work with
wife
it.
has about Google Assistant with the Google Home Hub, whatever, is like it talks too much. It's like
Yeah.
you say turn
Just shut
off
up.
these lights. It's like turning off these lights. Like you don't need to say that. Just do it. Just be
Yeah,
like,
right.
do I wish there was a concise mode.
Just do the thing. I don't need the feedback.
Yeah, I don't want to talk
need
to you. It's
friendliness.
okay. Yeah,
just do the
exactly.
thing.
Enough with the preparing. You're always preparing. Just go.
Just-
Let's go.
so true. All right, Michelle.
All right, so Microsoft is actually rolling out a new feature in the Copilot app on Windows called Phone Connection. And it's actually quite interesting if it actually worked well, which it doesn't. So this feature basically lets you link your Android phone to Copilot on your Windows PC so that Copilot can do more actions that only really make sense on your phone. So it gives Copilot access to your messages and contacts, and also lets you do things like see and send messages, set alarms and timers, and also start navigation on your phone. Now, as I just mentioned, this feature unfortunately does not work very well, because according to testing done by Windows Latest, for some reason, Copilot asks you for confirmation before it basically does anything. So even if you're doing something as simple as asking Copilot on your PC to start a timer on your phone or set an alarm, you'll get a notification on your phone that you have to tap to complete the action. So basically, like, you're telling it to do something, you have to pick up your phone, tap the notification for it to actually do that thing that you wanted it to do. Another limitation is that Copilot seems to not recognize when you've deleted messages on your phone. So when you ask it for, say, your latest text messages, it might still surface some of those old deleted messages. So, I mean, I think the idea is promising, like basically extending what you can do with the Copilot on your PC with actions you can take on your phone. Just the execution is pretty bad. Hopefully, Microsoft fixes these things before they widely roll it out. But if you do want to try it out on your phone right now, you just set up the Link to Windows app on your phone first, and then set up the Copilot app on your PC using the same Microsoft account on both, and then go to Profile, and then Account in the Copilot app, and then toggle the phone connection field.
All right.
Okay.
And when we got a little Google Message update as well.
Yeah, so Android Authority did one of their APK, or several of their APK teardowns, and found quite a bit of stuff in the latest beta version of Google Messages. So the two most interesting things are for group chat. So number one, it looks like they might be working on a feature to be able to send someone a link to join a group chat rather than having to have a member of that group chat go into contacts and pick a person directly. So they have found some code that looks like it's implementing some kind of join via link feature, which would be really cool. And second would be adding mentions to group chats. So you could do the @ symbol to a group chat member. And that would obviously probably draw extra attention to that chat and that message, give out notifications. Again, these are kind of like APK teardowns, so we're not sure. And there's a couple other things, but this is the two big ones. There's going to be some visual updates, kind of bringing more material 3E-ness to Google Messages, kind of implementing some more card UI, doing filled icons and things like that too. But I think @ mentions and join via link are the ones that are really, really, really going to make a little bit of a difference, are the ones that are pretty interesting in regards to group chats and making them more convenient. So there you go.
Yeah, Google Messages is finally becoming more like a true chat app.
Growing up, like
More and more.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for apps and almost for the show, but we got a little more. We asked you a question, and a lot of you wrote in, so we're going to hear from at least one of you. But first, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we'll hear from your email. All right. So last week, I think we put the question out there, does anybody actually use Samsung DeX? And many of you wrote in, and we might hear from more of you, but we're running out of time, so we're only going to do one email. So, Michelle, share with us the email.
All right, so we got an email from Clayton from Valencia, California, who wrote in to tell us, "Hello, Android faithful. In the last episode, there was a question about who uses DeX. Well, I am one of those users. Since I got my S20 FE, I've used it a lot, and it's actually one of the only features making me consider sticking with Samsung for my next phone. though with more desktop support coming to Android at large, I may make a switch and stick it out until those features come full out. Some uses I have for DeX. 1. TV size display in cases where an app doesn't have proper casting support, or a TV/streaming stick doesn't have an app available for the corresponding app on my phone like Twitch or emulators. 2. I have a very lightweight portable monitor and a small Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. My only laptop is very bulky and it's nice carrying around something lighter weight without needing to purchase a whole new laptop. 3. I'll connect my phone to my home office setup when making calls where I expect a lot of notes or want to cross-check info. My work computer is connected to everything via USB-C connector, so I just unplug that computer and plug my phone in, then reverse when done without needing to move cables or adjust my setup. 4. If I need to do something that requires a full desktop OS, I can remote into my desktop without needing to have its display on or even be in the same room.
That's nice.
All in all, I really like having a desktop mode enabled on my phone. I haven't tried Motorola's Ready For since I'm not a fan of their phone's software update track record, but I might switch to Google or OnePlus since they have DisplayPort Alt mode, parentheses not on our series for OnePlus though, and desktop mode seems to be coming sooner and sooner. Might not be the year of the Linux desktop, but maybe it'll be the year of the Android desktop instead. Love the show. Enjoy tuning in every week. Thanks, Clayton from Valencia, for writing in.
Yeah. And being so specific. Those are some very specific use cases. Love it.
Did not send any photos, Clayton. Very disappointed. And the other people who wrote it did not send photos. I want to see photos of DeX in action because this could be make-believe.
Well, I mean,
proof.
I can't show you a photo of DeX in action on my phone because I use the X-Real glasses along with DeX mode. This has been absolutely game-changing on airplanes because I'm a bigger dude. I cannot sit in an airplane seat and use a laptop. But to and from Barcelona, I plugged in the X-Real glasses with a Bluetooth keyboard and a Bluetooth mouse, and I got so much work done. It was amazing. It was, that is the reason that I will probably carry a Samsung phone, honestly, for the foreseeable future. I actually have a piece coming up in Laptop Mag for my next work trip. I am not taking a laptop with me, and I'm going to instead use Samsung with DeX mode, the X-Real glasses, and the keyboard and mouse. And we're gonna see how it goes.
Bold move.
That's living in the future. I love it. That's living in the future. That's what I want. I do want to not have to lug around the laptop and do all that sort of stuff. And I think that's, I think
Right?
the glasses, the AR glasses or whatever, the infinite canvas solution is really attractive. Also the idea of your phone being your computer and you just plop it on and it plugs into the display. But yeah, it's tempting. No.
I do have the Beam Pro to go with the glasses, but honestly, just the desktop interface of DeX works so much better for me, which is why, like earlier in the show, when we were talking about desktop mode coming to Android, like I am psyched. I'm so excited for that. And like Google, just copy DeX, copy paste, you're done. Just do all that and it'll be perfect.
But what's so funny is that DeX has been a punchline since it came out, right? I mean, Jason, how long ago were we when they announced DeX and we're like, what is this? And all this sort of stuff. And we never know anybody who's doing it. And now we're like excited for desktop mode and Android. What changed? Did the technology catch up where it's more viable, or I don't I think it's fascinating.
I just think DeX is one of those features where when it's useful when you need to use it in a pinch, but when you actually try using it on a daily basis, you're gonna encounter one or two, maybe more, really really annoying things that you're like, why can't I do this? I can do this on a Chromebook, I can do this on my Windows laptop or a MacBook, but it's so frustrating with DeX.
Yep.
And I think that's just like the deal breaker for a lot of people. You just get so frustrated with it because of one or two things.
Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago I was trying to use DeX with I don't. Oh, it was on the Tab S9 Ultra or whatever, one of the Tab S9s. I was trying to use DeX mode, and for whatever reason, 1Password wouldn't work in DeX mode. Like I would have to switch out of DeX mode to do whatever login I wanted to do, and then switch back in. It was just. It was a little wild.
No good.
That has since been fixed. But I just thought that was kind of weird. It was like a 2022 thing. If I wonder,
is that a 1Password issue or a DeX issue?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's been since then. So,
Yeah.
but
to answer your question from earlier, Ron, 2017 is when DeX was first announced.
All right.
Galaxy
So 8 years ago.
S8 initially
Yeah.
required a proprietary docking accessory called the DeX Station.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. There you go. Full of history today on Android Faithful.
Been doing this
but I
for too
think
long.
I think in general, smart glasses, especially at CES and especially at MWC, smart glasses have been a thing. And so I think we are kind of at a point where people are looking to do more with their phones, but not with like portable monitors. I think that we're kind of at a point where people are starting to look at smart glasses and desktop mode on a phone and thinking like, oh, maybe this is a thing that can actually work. Like the one thing I really want that Xreal doesn't do yet is I just want multiple monitors. Like, DeX mode will give me one big monitor, which is great, but I kind of want a second monitor. That would be great if I could have like both of those.
That's
And
more of a
I would
limitation
be
on Android, though, which is why Google's work on desktop mode and external displays and all the stuff they're doing is such a big deal.
Right. I'm so looking forward to that because if I could have two monitors and virtual glasses, I may never buy a laptop again. But I'm a writer.
Again.
I mean, like I'm fairly niche when it comes to like I'm very like low effort. I do not push things hard on like a desktop mode or something like that. Like I can get away with doing work because I'm working in like Google Docs in a browser. It's not hard. So like if I were video editing, different conversation. I totally get that. But and by the way, keep an eye on Motorola Smart Connect because they're doing some fun stuff. They don't have like a full desktop mode yet. I kind of think they're waiting for Google to roll this out. But when they do, man, like Smart Connect is going to I think it's going to take DeX out back and like shoot it in the head because yes, Motorola is doing some good stuff with Smart Connect.
Bold.
Careful.
Which, by the way, is the new name for Ready 4. So
right. So yeah. Cool. All right. Well, there you have it. More to come in the world of desktop computing. Hopefully, I want it. I want to live in the future. I love it. Like I said earlier, we've been doing this for too long, and we've been specifically doing this show for too long. So we're going to wrap it up.
This particular episode.
Adam,
Yeah,
I know you have to
closing
get
out
to
in
your
2
family. Thank you so much for joining us. What would you like to tell the people to go look for you on the internet for?
Well, I'm Dead Technology on Threads and Instagram. I am Benefit of the Doud on YouTube. That's youtube.com/benefit of the Doud. youtube.com/benefit of the Doud. And the marketers say I should say it 3 times. youtube.com/benefit of the Doud.
Get that memory recognition.
Right. When I am not doing social media or YouTube, I am freelancing just about everywhere. You can find me on SlashGear. You can find me on Laptop Mag. You can find me on CNET, probably a few other properties in the not too distant future. And I don't know how many LinkedIn shout outs you get, but if you're interested in learning about freelancing content, that has become kind of a thing for me. So
I have read your posts. I have enjoyed your content on LinkedIn. So yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. It's a labor of love. It's just
I'm freelance fluencer. You're a freelance
fluer, yeah, or something. I don't know. Like all I know is that I don't have a brand deal yet, and I'm kind of mad about it. But anyway,
give it time. Give it time. You'll get there.
So search for Adam Doud on LinkedIn as well if you want, and you can hear all my thoughts about freelancing because I think about it a lot. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all of me, and there's a lot of me.
Cool.
You're awesome. Thank you, Adam.
Yes, thank you, Adam. You're rad.
Thank you.
Jason, what have you been up to, sir?
Man, so many things. But I think the thing I'll throw some attention to is the fact, because there's total crossover, is that while I was at Mobile World Congress, I sat down with Android head Samir Samat to talk all about AI on Android. And we talked a little bit about Project Astra, and I wrote about it for ZDNet, which is one of the places that I'm writing now. It was kind of my first time taking what would have been kind of like a podcast interview and turning it into an article. So it was a fun,
awesome,
fun kind of experience to translate it there.
Congrats.
But if you do want to watch the interview, you can go to AIinsight.show. And we have it's like a 15 or 16 minute interview with Samir that's played as part of last week's episode. So there you go as well.
And in
Talking-
freelancers, we call that 1 interview, 2 paychecks.
Yeah. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
yes.
You do-
I'm,
you
I'm,
do what you
I'm
gotta.
practicing that as much as I can right now, man. That's how I'm
Damn
staying
right.
afloat.
Good job. All right, Michelle, what are you up to? Tell the folks about your world.
Well, as you can tell from early on in this episode, I'm very busy when it comes to covering Android. So if you want to find out what's new and happening in Android 16, Android 17, and beyond, you can go to my Linktree page at linktree/Mashal Rahman. I'll do an Adam Doud and repeat it again. Linktree/Mashal Rahman. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a neat .com ending, so I can't easily repeat it. I don't know exactly where to put the beginning. But yeah, you can find me on all the social media channels. You can also find me on Patreon at patreon.com/Rahman if you want to join my Discord group, where I frequently talk tech, Android, share teasers of things I'm working on, and things that are happening in future versions of Android.
Nice.
Cool. So much work. Google needs to give us a break. That should be the title of tonight's episode. Google, give us a break. Win,
Give
how
me a
about you?
break,
What are you
Google.
working on?
Android developer, 13 years. Randomlytyping.com. Creating code monkey in places. Creatingcodemonkey.dev at Blue Sky before I cut off again. Love you guys.
Yes,
Bye.
internet's been
Unstable
challenging
internet.
tonight. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Thank you,
finally,
man.
myself, you can find me on social media at RonXO. But who cares about me? You are listening to this podcast. You're watching the show on YouTube. We hope you like it. Please tell your friends. That's the best way that we can grow the show and get bigger and do what we're doing. So do us a favor. I'm challenging everybody to tell at least one person in your world to go
Just one.
subscribe to this podcast. Just tell one person to do it. That could really impact everything. So we really appreciate it. You can find everything over at androidfaithful.com. All of our links, everything that you need is all there. All the articles covering all the barrage of news, as well as this podcast. That's going to wrap it up for this week. We'll see you next Tuesday for even more Android. We love you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Android Faithful. So long. Michelle, that is not an Android plushie. What is that?
I'm glad you noticed. It's a
Is it
bubble
a bubble
plushie.
tea? Bubble tea?
Yeah.
There you go. Cool.
Bubble
All right.
tea. All right.
My
Oh,
Android
my
plushie's
goodness.
chilling in the corner over there.
Cool. All right. Well, I think
Android, give us a break.
Android, give us a break.
Or Google, give us
Google,
a break.
give us a break. Yeah, I think that we're gonna bypass the show bot and we're gonna go Google, give us a break.
Google, give us a break. Although Android Clown Car of News is top.
What is it?
Android Clown Car of News.
That's pretty good too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like going with the
Yeah, Google, give us a
mention.
break. That's
There's
fine.
lots of things in here, but it's already 7:04 and it's
Yes.
pretty late, and we
We
have
all got to
kept
get to our
Adam for
lives
too
and
long,
families, so, yeah.
and it is
Adam,
late
thank you,
for
sir.
Ron.
Thank you
Yeah,
for hanging out.
can't
You're
hear
on
you.
mute.
You're muted.
You're muted.
It's not that I need to get back to my family. I just need to release them. So like, because like I have a very open layout house. So like when I'm podcasting, they just need to go to their rooms and shut up.
Release the
But,
Krakens.
Oh boy, I know all about that.
Yeah, Jason,
I
you can relate, right?
experience that downstairs. Yes,
Yeah. So
cool. Well, thank you, Adam. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a lot of
Thank
fun.
you for being
so
here.
thank you very much for having me. And do I need to like stick around?
yeah, hang
before-
out. Let us wrap
Oh,
up the
right.
feed, and then we'll
Yeah.
go from there. But
Yeah, we
everybody,
need to end
have a
this
good night. We'll see you next week. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
watching.
Sorry we aren't hanging out, but
Night.
we got work to do.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you
just-
for being here, everybody. You're awesome.
Bye.
See y'all
Yep.
later. Bye.